It's time for Political Buzz, the television forum to discuss politics and issues of interest for all of Western New York. Now, from the WBBZ television studio at the Eastern Hills Mall, this is Political Buzz.
Hello, everybody. John DeShula with you here from our Eastern Hills Mall studio, WBBZ-TV, located right by Macy's. We're getting ready for our game show coming up this summer. We're getting ready for the Bucky and Sully show. The studio is all in flux, but we are ready to bring you another edition of Political Buzz right here. Last week, if you recall, I met with Buffalo's Common Council President, Darius Pridgen. He talked about the meaning of the season. It was Holy Week last week, but now Darius Pridgen made headlines because his Easter sermon talked about parent power and what it means for the Buffalo education system to try to regroup and reclaim Buffalo public schools that are clearly in trouble. I had a chance to sit down recently with Reverend Darius Pridgen, and here's what he had to say. We welcome you back to Political Buzz. Welcome you back to Political Buzz with Buffalo's Common Council President, Reverend Darius Pridgen. Last week, Reverend Pridgen, you talked about the fact that at your Easter sermon at Kleinhand's, you were going to talk about the Buffalo school system and really empowering students.
Absolutely.
You talked about bringing the community together. And, you know, we've had Carl Palladino on our program quite frequently. And he's, I think, stepped up to really peel back the layers of, you know, some of the inadequacies of the Buffalo School Board. He may not always address it in the most politically correct way, but he has brought to light what's happening. And the school board elections are coming up May 6th. From your perspective, though, and from what I've seen, it almost feels like there's becoming a bit of a racial divide here, you know, where you have people of color who are running the Buffalo School District, and you have, like Carl, you know, older
a white man,
white men who he's been called out by others just for that, and yet I don't think it's racial, but yet it appears like it's becoming like that. Or what is your take on all this?
See, it is racial, and racial isn't a negative thing. I mean, it's race. We got a school system full of black children. There are a majority of African Americans running school district. Like, that's not a problem. I think sometimes we become afraid to say race. We're afraid to talk about races involved. You daggone skimpy races involved, and anybody who would say it's not is not being truthful. But that's not a negative thing necessarily. It's only a negative thing if race is utilized in a negative way. I think it's beautiful that we have African Americans involved and white people involved, and I'd love to see some other folks involved. At the end of the day, though, what's most important is that child, whether black or white, whether an immigrant, no matter what, it's that child at the end of the day. So I can tell you this, and folks can disagree with me. I'm really glad for all of the noise that I hear around education right now, whether I agree with people. Now listen, there's no way I agree with everything that Carl Palladino says, and there are ways that I wish that he would approach it that are a little bit different. However, I'm not going to pretend that I'm not glad that there are people who are paying attention. There's no way I agree with everything that Sam Radford says. But if we weren't shaking the cages, then we might still have some children who could really be suffering. And as a pastor, you know, I've been criticized as an elected official for some of the stances I made. You make this stance, you make this person mad, you're on this person. But I think who should really be mad are young people and students. So is there some racial tension? I think most people would say yes, but I think that could be fixed, and I think that changes with the way we address people, with how we, you know, how we call them, whether they're a group of black women or not. But at the end of the day, I think that we should all be fighting for our children. How involved will you get, will Mayor Brown get, will the state get in trying to fix what seems to be an unfixable situation? Because as the schools go, I think so goes Buffalo, Darius. It is a fixable situation. It seems unfixable, but this is what I say. Wherever you concentrate your efforts, you can make a change. And if we don't concentrate our efforts, again, I'm glad for the cranes going up. I'm glad for all that. But let's deal with the little people who are underneath the cranes. I've said to Sam Radford, I've been to lunch with Carl Palladino. I've talked to every school board member, because that's where I think we mess up. We start to fight against each other. See, I'm never going to fight against Carl when it comes to education. I want to find out what we can agree on. I'm never going to fight against Sam Radford. I'm not going to fight against school board. I'm going to fight for children. And so I think it is fixable. But I I don't think, and I put myself to blame also, I don't think this community has embraced education as our chief concern, because there is one thing, and believe me, John, I've tried to pull elected officials together. I promised when I ran, G4P, I kept saying it, government for the people. Let's get together on one issue, and if we can get together on any issue, it ought to be education. Louise Slaughter, I went to the federal folks, I said, listen, they're not gonna come for me, I'm a council member. I'm low man on the totem pole. I need one of you federal folks to sponsor this, bring. One federal person responded. That was Louise Slaughter. Louise Slaughter put together elected officials. There might have been four that showed up. 4 out of county, state, city. Come on, federal, we have to agree on this. And to me, education, and I believe it could be turned around, but this is what I believe it needs. It needs as much attention as we give to the Bills Stadium. You give me as much attention that we do about building a new stadium to education. You bring me people and you put them in rooms and you bring the power to the rooms. I'm telling you, it'll change. But until that occurs, we're going to still be having these conversations. And that's where I think the change happens. It happens where we put our focus. Buffalo is not being rebuilt right now because of, luck of the draw. It's being rebuilt right now because people concentrated on the revival of Buffalo. Now there has to be leadership that says this is going to be what we go after, because if you change the education system, you change everything else. It's almost like open up that floodgate and everything else will come with it. I want Buffalo to be branded, and this is what I met with people today, so I'm not just talking this. I want Buffalo to be branded as the place of education. You got 20-something universities around here. You've got schools. You've got trade education. A good place to get education, but we got to turn around the system.
Well, you've just started that crusade on WBBZ, as we've tried with so many other projects, and your voice will be heard. Real quickly, because I know you have to run to the meeting. You talked about the rebirth of Buffalo, and you are the president of the Buffalo Common Council. And yet, how do you see, you talk about the city growing and education certainly being a cornerstone for that, and business and the economy. Where do you see the city going and under your leadership as Common Council president?
Well, oddly enough, a lot of people don't realize the Common Council president is not an at-large member like it used to be. We have not one at-large member. So everybody still has to take care of their district, and I'm not the other council members' boss. I conduct meetings and appoint committees, and I sit ex officio on other committees. But what I have been able to do is, I hope, is to bring council members together to see a global vision. There's a resolution on the floor today that will be approved, hopefully, that calls us to go to each other's district on a tour together.
Good idea.
So that we all see what the other one is dealing with. Because when you're talking about one city budget and you're talking about 9 council members trying to get a little piece here, well, if I know that Councilmember Franzak has a huge need in Fillmore that might be more of an emergency situation than mine, we have to learn how to work together because we don't have an at-large person. So I think it is about, talking more about inclusion. The buzzword of the past was diversity. I'm moving away from that word. It's inclusion, because I don't know really what diversity means anymore. I think that you include people for the right reasons, you get them involved, you educate them, you include everyone, and you watch all boats rise.
Do you think that this is the last stop on your political career?
Do you think this is what I always
know people have asked you about maybe running for higher office.
This is going to sound political answer, so I'll warn you already.
This is John DeShula you're talking to, Darius. I've known you forever.
I never know what Darius is going to do next. Next week I might be the cameraman over at the station.
Okay.
I might, who knows? So I'm just open enough to say, God, wherever you want me to be. Now I'll be very transparent that I did not put my hat in the ring to become council president in order to become the mayor. I want to be the best Common Council president that I can be and serve my people, my God, with integrity, and make a way for all people to participate in government. That's it. Any other door that I have to walk through or I feel necessary, when I get to that door, I'll be honest about it. At this point, the door I'm at is the one that says Common Council president.
Well, you're doing a great job.
Thank you, John.
Are you still going to strap yourself to the St. Anne's Church if they're going to demolish it. I saw that. I know that's a.
And we got the Vatican to back up on St. Anne's. Man, I'm so thrilled about that, and I still get along with the local bishop.
There you go, Reverend Pridgen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
We'll
I appreciate you.
All right, good luck. There he is, Reverend Darius Pridgen, president of the Buffalo Common Council, a leader on the rise in Western New York, very inspirational leader at that. When we come back from Political Buzz, you're going to meet Hiram Caston. Who is Hiram? Well, stay tuned and you'll find out. But as we go to break, if you want more information on the city of Buffalo and Darius Pridgen's church, True Bethel, there it is. The website's on the screen. Political Buzz back in just a minute.